Hey, remember the last time we tried to clean the pool after a weekend of barbecue? The water was cloudy, the floor was covered in leaves, and you end up spending an hour wrestling a hose and a clunky vacuum that keeps tripping on its own cord. I felt that same frustration and thought, if only there was a way to just set it and forget it. Before you decide whether to drop a few $100s on a robotic pool cleaner, I'm going to walk through exactly what you need to know: what works, what doesn't, and who will actually get the most bang for their buck. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest selling point of the Wzglod Cordless Robotic Vacuum is, as the name says, that it doesn't have a power cord. No more tangled cords hanging from the side of the pool, no more hunting for a dry outlet, and no more accidental shock scares. It runs on an internal battery that promises up to 90 minutes of cleaning time, which is actually enough to cover a typical residential pool of around 500 square feet. In practice, that means you can drop the unit in, let it run its cycle, and have the whole surface and bottom swept clean without ever having to stop and swap batteries. Now, let's talk about how it actually moves. The robot uses a water jet propulsion system instead of the more common rubber or treaded wheels you see on older models. What that does is push water through a small nozzle, creating enough thrust to pull the unit forward and also to lift debris off the floor. In my own backyard, where the pool is a flat, Inground model with a vinyl liner, that jet propulsion made a noticeable difference. The robot handled fine sand and fine leaf debris without getting stuck. The 4 travel wheels, 2 on each side, help it stay stable when it encounters a steeper wall or a sudden change in the pool's bottom contour. I've seen it climb the tiled steps at the deep end without wobbling, which is something I didn't expect from a cordless unit. One of the hidden trade-offs, though, is power. Because it's battery-driven, the suction isn't as strong as a high-end corded robot that plugs directly into a 120-volt outlet. If you have a lot of heavy, wet leaves or large pieces of algae, you'll notice the robot struggles a bit. It will still pick up the material, but you might have to run a second pass or manually pre-filter the big chunks with a net. For most backyard pools that see regular leaf fall, that's a minor inconvenience, but if you're in a heavily wooded area, you might need to do a little extra prep work. The next practical detail is the cleaning cycle itself. The Wzglod model is programmed to run automatically, spiraling across the floor and then reversing direction every so often. I liked that it doesn't require you to set a timer or press buttons while it's working. You just press start, and it goes. The robot has a small LED indicator that flashes when the battery is low, so you're not left wondering why it stopped mid-cycle. However, there isn't a customizable schedule built into the unit. If you want the robot to clean every weekday at 8 a.m., you'll have to remember to press start manually each time. That may be a deal breaker for someone looking for a fully set and forget solution that integrates with a smart home hub. Who should buy this? If you own an above-ground or in-ground pool that's roughly 500 square feet, and you're fed up with cords, splashing hoses, and the hassle of manually scooping debris, this robot is a solid upgrade. It's especially appealing for families with kids who splash a lot, because you can drop it in after playtime, let it run while you're cooking, and come back to a cleaner pool. The battery life is sufficient for an average cleaning session, and the lack of a cord means you won't be constantly tripping over it when you're moving around the pool deck. On the other hand, if your pool is larger than 550 square feet, or you have a high-end pool with a lot of built-in filtration that already handles most of the particulate load, you might find this robot's cleaning time a bit short. You would likely need to run 2 separate cycles to cover the entire surface, which cuts into the convenience factor. Also, if you're looking for a premium unit that can deep clean stubborn algae without any manual assistance, a higher-priced, plug-in model might be a better fit. Let's touch on the practical strengths again, just to make sure they stick. The cordless design eliminates the safety worries of running electricity near water. The water jet propulsion gives the robot a smoother glide over flat surfaces, and the 4 wheels keep it stable on steps. The battery life of 90 minutes is realistic and matches the advertised claim, so you won't be surprised by a sudden shutdown halfway through. And because it's relatively lightweight, you can lift it out of the water.